Hi there, and welcome to Let's Slow Down, a podcast for all of you who feel tired and stressed from this overwhelming world. Here we'll have fun, inspiring conversations about living life on our own terms and explore ways to ease the pace of our modern world, because life really is good when you're relaxed enough to be present for it. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Stolting, and I welcome you to this space where I hope to inspire you to slow down, because life is too short to let it go by in a blur. So take a deep breath, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to Let's Slow Down, a podcast where we have conversations about how to find peace and space in the cluttered, busy world that we currently live. Today, we're talking with Lucia Oliveira, a certified sleep coach and trauma-informed breathwork facilitator who has a passion for helping moms find their well-being while navigating motherhood. Welcome, Lucia. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Why don't we start with you just giving us a little background about your story and what has led you to be on this mission, to be a sleep coach and a breathwork facilitator. They are really amazing lines of work. So talk to us. How'd you get there?
Yeah, if you were to ask me that I would be doing this in the year that we're in, I'd be like, what are you, crazy? Like, there's no way that I would be doing, I never thought in a million years, let's put it that way. So I actually owned a brick and mortar fitness studio somewhere in New Jersey, an urban market, and I owned it with a business partner for about 7 years. And as you probably know where the story is going to go, COVID hit and we had to close our doors, unfortunately. So that's what I thought was my passion, what I thought I'd be doing until the end of time. And in the meantime, I was also expecting my first baby, my first child. And so I ended up having Gabriel, my son, right in the middle of the pandemic. So May of 2020, I was a first-time mom. I was trying to save a business that was slowly slipping away, that I had put so much effort into. So to say that my world was turned upside down is an understatement. During the time also, my dad had to have open heart surgery. And so there was just so much going on in my life. And I felt like a need, like there needed to be something that needed to happen. On top of seeing my business slowly slip away, I was also trying to navigate being a first-time mom. And I will say that I went into it thinking I was somewhat prepared, but in reality, I was not even. Yes, I did a birthing class. I educated myself on how to take care of my body while I was pregnant, but no one really got me prepared with postpartum. And that is a topic that I feel there's not a lot of conversation, honest
No,
conversation.
there's not.
Postpartum. Yeah. Yes, it is a very joyful time to bring in a new human being into life, but the hardships that I went through with my son was really hard. And when I say hard, to the point where I experienced postpartum depression and anxiety. I was not sleeping. I was completely sleep deprived. My son was very cranky. He would never sleep no matter what I did. And when I remember doing the birthing class and how to take care of a newborn, they're like, well, if you feed them, you change their diaper, and that's it. That's all you really need to worry about. And I'm like, dude, I just checked off those 2 boxes and still I have
Now what?
what's that? Now what? I'm at a loss. And so I wasn't thriving as a mom. My son was not thriving at all because I knew he was not getting the sleep that he needed, to a point where I was like, listen, this is really affecting how I want to show up as a mom, how I'm showing up as a wife, how I'm showing up to my business that needs me more than ever. Something needs to change. And so I started really educating myself around sleep. And so I did a lot of trial and error with my son. I was like, let me try this, let me try that, until finally I figured out a way that he was sleeping so much better at night and also taking naps too, because during naps is where I really would get a lot of work done, because at the time we were at home, our studio was closed. So we had to really convert our brick and mortar studio into a virtual setting. So literally overnight. So trying to navigate that and really showing up for my son was not an easy task. So my word that I've learned and has been my word for the last 3 years is resilience. And so, I ended up becoming a certified sleep coach because I was like, this is so freaking hard. Like, I want to be there for moms and I want to be an advocate that you don't have to be sleep deprived. This does not have to be your new identity. Yes, you're going to have some sleepless nights, especially in the beginning. But once you're able to establish some really amazing structured routines, bedtime, like all these things that come into the importance of sleep with an infant, your life is going to change. And I know there's so many misconceptions around sleep training. And to me, sleep training is really creating a sleep lifestyle that is age appropriate for your child, but also incorporates your lifestyle, like your parenting lifestyle. You know what I mean? So, trying to help families is something that I really became very passionate about. I've helped many, many moms to get their little ones sleeping. And I will say it is life changing. Like, I've met so many families, they come to me sleep deprived, hopeless. And after they do my program, they work with me, they feel like a completely different family. And so that is to me, I love that type of work that I do and I'm able to support moms. And as I was doing that, I felt there was something that was missing. So, as I told you, there was a lot of life changes happening in the moment of closing my business, my dad having open heart surgery, me being a first-time mom. I was like, I feel like I need something. I need like some sort of spiritual awakening. I really sometimes felt really numb. And it's hard for me to admit that now because I wish I could have raised my hand sooner and said like, "Hey, I needed help." But because I'm so sometimes really rooted down on who I am as a person, I started to see myself slip away in a sense where I'm like, "Okay, something's off. I need to do something about it." And so I enrolled in a 3 month program that was really about soul searching, really reawakening those parts that felt numb. And during this program, I came across breathwork. So I did one session, and I will say that session forever changed me in a sense where I'm like, holy smokes, this is absolutely amazing because you can really feel the change pretty much like instantaneously right after. You go in feeling anxious, overwhelmed, and after a session, like you feel like you're on cloud nine. Like there's so much weight off of your shoulder. Like I don't know how to describe it, but the feeling was amazing. And I was like, wow, I really want to explore this because I think this could really help moms, especially if they have little kids, because babies and little kids can definitely sense your energy, right? So if you're
Sure.
feeling anxious, stressed, your baby's going to feel that energy. So if I'm able to get the mom feeling more connected and grounded, the response on how they're going to respond to their child and how the child is going to respond to the mom is going to be incredible, right? So I decided to enroll to become a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator. It was a 6 month program and I learned so much about myself. The first 3 months was really about the embodiment, really tapping into things that I probably thought I had recovered, that I had healed, and my body needed to heal more. I got so much more clarity on where I wanted my life to go, and that program forever changed my life. And here I am, certified as a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator, and the work that I've done with so many people has really impacted their life in a very profound way. So I'm a huge believer in breath work, and yeah, that's kind of like my little story, but it ended up being a really long story.
So
But
interesting. And I love how you really turned all of your challenges in life, you flipped them around and you figured out how to help yourself. And then you took it to a whole nother level and you are now helping so many other people who, we know all of these challenges you're describing. I mean, most of us can relate, unfortunately. I think it's really admirable that you have made this your life's work. I can see
how much this means to you and how passionate you are about all of these things. And that comes through as well, right? When you're working with someone and you see, okay, they are embodying this whole experience. They have gotten so much out of it. You want to get some of that too, like, okay, how can I learn how to have that? That's what you resonate, your energy. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh,
I feel that I had to go through those challenges at the time. And you know what, looking back, I'm grateful to have gone through that because there were definitely things that I didn't know about myself. And through these challenges, I learned so much from them. My son is my biggest teacher. Like, he tapped into a different version of myself. Like, I'm Lucia 2.0 or 3.0. I don't know what version I'm in right now, but he is literally my biggest teacher. And I'm continue to learn so much through him. And, I think from my own experience of my life, becoming a first time mom, I don't know if you can relate or not, but it's like sometimes you feel somewhat disconnected with yourself, right? Like, now this human being relies on you, right? There's so much you have to put ahead. And I reminded myself that I am also a priority, right? I need to feel good in order for my son to feel good too, because if I'm not feeling well, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever that is, I'm going to show up very differently. I want to be the best version of a mom to him. That's what he deserves. And so for me, having found, breath work, had done that, that soul searching program that I did over the summer, like, really allowed me to reawaken parts of my body, my soul, like just everything. I felt for the first time alive in like, I honestly couldn't remember the last time I felt alive after I had my son, and this really helped me really heal that, and, here I am, and I wanna be able to support moms, helping them go through certain challenges in life, whatever that is, if it's through sleep, if it's feeling more connected with themselves, whatever that is, that's what I wanna do.
I can totally relate. I remember I always say it kind of joking, but there's a lot of truth in it that the second you have your first child, I was no longer Anne Marie. I was Ella's mom. And that's like your new identity. At least it feels like that is. You can still be Anne Marie. You can still get that back. You can still be Lucia. You can get yourself back, but it's a lot in the beginning and it feels like it happens in the blink of an eye. And then when you have the sleepless nights and a body you don't recognize and you're just depleted, you don't know who you are anymore. So these tools are so important to stay grounded, like you said, to show up completely and fully for everybody, including yourself first. It's like the oxygen mask on the plane, right? You got to take care of yourself first. Then you're able to help other people because you're no good to anybody if you're not functioning.
Yeah,
So
I couldn't agree more with that, and I use that analogy all the time with all of my families that I
yeah,
support, moms, everyone, because you have to be in a good place, because otherwise it's gonna impact how
totally.
you show up, at home, at work, wherever that is. It's like, you have to be in a good place, and I'm not saying that all my days are rainbows and butterflies, I mean, not one bit, but just knowing that you have the tools to feel more grounded. Like, I know before we hopped on, like, I was having one of those mommy moments where I'm like, my son is now 3. He has a lot of sometimes tantrums, and I can feel the awareness, or like I feel sometimes that anxious moment, right? Like, you want to be able to be there for him and support him, right? And for me to, instead of be reactive right away, I just take a moment to just breathe. Like, okay, noticing how my body's feeling, what's going through my mind. And if I just take a moment to pause, reflect on what's happening, I'm able to then tune to him in a more effective way. Because if I start to scream at him or whatever that is, it's not going to help the situation. Not one bit. It just actually is going to make it worse. So in those moments, it's like catching yourself and like taking a moment to breathe, basically, and then go at it, and have a conversation with him. But I have to recognize that I'm going through a phase as well. Every phases of motherhood, from newborn, infant, toddler, it's what they say. It's like Bigger kids, bigger problems, I guess.
The second you feel like, okay, I got this, I'm figuring them out, they're going to change, or you're going to change, or, something happens like a pandemic and everything changes. So it's like you have to learn how to go with the flow and how to have that awareness. And I think that that is why this concept of slowing down is so important, because you have to have that pause that you're mentioning. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 30 seconds, but before that reaction comes in,
Yeah.
you have to have that minute, and you have to slow down enough and not have life be so crazy on the outside that you feel like you can't do that, because all these other things, it's a ripple effect. I mean, all these other things can go one way or another way, depending on what you do in that pause, right?
I couldn't agree more with you,
So
Henry. It's so
it's
true.
important,
It's so,
but
and
it's
that's,
hard.
yeah, it totally is. Because in the moment you want to be reactive or whatever, but it's like you have to catch yourself to slow
Yep.
down. And that's what I tell a lot of my families that I support through my sleep coaching business. Like sometimes just taking a pause, like as soon as your child starts to protest, like we replace crying with protesting. Because if they have a clean diaper, they have a full tummy, they're in a safe sleep and space, right? You're not neglecting them. Even if it's a minute or two, just giving them a little bit of space sometimes is the best thing that you can do for your child. You're also creating that confidence and in the baby as well. Like, allowing them to have the feelings and then respond to them from a place where you're like, okay, I took a pause. I'm breathing. I'm feeling all of these feelings, these sensations come through, and then be able to then be reactive and go ahead and, pick up the baby and do what you need to do. But sometimes just pausing for yourself and for your child is literally the best thing that you can do.
And as they get older, there's also the piece of allowing them to have some space to figure it out too, where mom or dad's not going to come right in and pick you up and pat your back and save the day or whatever, bring you the thing you forgot at school. Like have them figure it out.
Hmm.
That's important. And I believe, I'm sure everyone has different opinions on this, but I think that it does start very young. It does start young. It starts before the age of 1, where they have to learn how to self-soothe and figure things out. Otherwise, that's part of it. And if it's a baby and they're crying, that's their only means of communication. That's all they know how to do. So it's like, for the parent, and it's easier for me now saying this looking back, but they're fine. So I kind of like that protest rather than,
Yeah, it's protesting. And with sleep, I think parents, especially moms, have a hard time hearing their
yeah,
child protesting, right? But how is it different from a child who hates being in the car seat? You're putting them in the car seat because that's the safest way,
yeah,
right? You're not gonna even flinch. If the
right.
baby starts to protest, you're like, it doesn't really strike a nerve the same way as if the baby is crying because, they're being put to sleep, right? Or they're, for bed or naps. How is that different? It's the same thing. But parents have no problem hearing their baby cry when it comes to putting them in the car seat. But when it comes
That's
to
correct.
sleep, it's a big deal. And hey, I mean, there are families, if they want to co-sleep or whatever that case is, I get it. They're in survival mode. And if it works for their lifestyle, more power to them. Like do what you need to do, right? If that feels good. But if you're feeling sleep deprived, if you're like about to like lose it, your baby is not happy, you're not happy, and you want to change, then you have to make those changes. It doesn't have to be your new identity of being sleep deprived. And there's so much mom shaming and there's so much misconceptions about sleep training in general that it's like really sad. It breaks my heart that I see so many moms struggling big time because they feel like that's the new norm. And it doesn't have to be. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be.
And we were talking before, I'm noticing as I get older, I mean, high school, college, I could function pretty well on not a lot of sleep. I really could. I kind of prided myself on it, Yeah, oh yeah, I don't need to go to bed early. But it does catch up to you eventually. And I mean, now it's pretty much a game changer with how my day is going to go if I don't get a lot of sleep and I don't have a newborn. So we were saying it's part of your health. It's just like you're not going to let them or yourself eat junk food all day long and live on soda and caffeine. And we're not going to do those things. We're going to make healthy, nutritious choices with what we feed our body and fuel our body with. And that piece of rest is really no different, right? It's part of your health and wellness, and it's kind of a non negotiable. It's not something we need to accept as the norm, as you're saying. Like it's something that has to be corrected, almost like you go to the doctor if you're ill. Well, okay, we got to figure the sleep thing out because we're basically ill. You're going to end up ill if you don't correct it. So it's really one of our basic needs in life, right? So
Yeah, sleep is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
it,
And I feel with the mom, like through postpartum, it's how your body heals is through sleep, right?
yep.
Taking care of of yourself, right? It's through sleep. But also the big piece that I think a lot of parents forget is the sleep is super. I mean, I can't even stress how important sleep is for babies. That's where all of their development stuff
Yeah.
happens. So sleep is needed for a baby to function. Something that is super important for moms to understand. It's not only important for the parents, obviously, but for the baby, it's crucial that they're getting quality sleep during the day, but also at night.
So give us one of your most fun, interesting sleep stories that you've gotten so far as a coach.
Sleep stories. I mean, I will say that a lot of parents that I've worked with are parents that are to the point where they're like, I cannot take another day where I am sleeping with either an infant or a toddler in my bed because, especially with infant, co sleeping or sharing the same bed with your little one is super dangerous, right? I've had stories where the mom was like, I can't do this anymore because my baby rolled off the bed.
Mhm.
I just don't know where to start. And so they hire me, and I've had so many amazing success stories where they went from co-sleeping, right, sharing the same bed, to now having a little one sleeping in their own room, in their own crib, and everyone's happy. So there's a lot. I mean, and it's never too late. I've worked with kids who are 3 years old, 4 years old, to all the way from infants of 4 months. Every family is in a different place. Some families are like, well, we're going through the 4 month sleep regression. I want to make those changes. I don't want to be feeding my child every 2 to 3 hours because I know that they're not hunger, but this is the only way that they're going to fall back asleep. So they hire me. And so for me, I absolutely love working with moms because a lot of them are first time moms, just like myself. And I know what they're going through because I went through that myself. So I can definitely resonate with what they're experiencing. And so they come to me feeling super anxious, overwhelmed, and after working with me, they feel confident, empowered. They're like, "Oh, we got this." So, and it also sets them up for success in not just in creating really healthy sleep habits, but it also gives them the empowerment of doing things from like a feeding schedule. I feel like the whole dynamic of how they feel as a mom really changes, because sleep is such a big component, especially with an infant, that once they've are really comfortable with that, all the other things kind of fall into place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. I've seen it. I see it as an adult. The nights that I get more sleep, everything is just run smoother the next day. Everything. What's one of your biggest sleep like lifestyle tips that you can share with everybody listening?
Yeah, I would say definitely creating a routine. Babies thrive and crave routine and structure. It's our job as parents to help them navigate through this busy world, right? So, by creating a routine, let's say a bedtime routine, is really a stepping stone in the right direction, right? Because babies are really intelligent. They get it. Like they start to pick up where, like, okay, after these steps, this will equal sleep, right? It's kind of allowing the body to unwind. It's time to go to sleep. So, establishing a bedtime routine from an early age, and you can do this from a newborn. I'm not necessarily saying sleep training from a newborn phase. That's not what I'm saying, but establishing a solid bedtime routine from an early age is golden. It's really golden. So those elements of creating a bedtime routine can be a mini version for naps. So, it could be like if the baby's playing, bringing them up, changing their diaper, maybe changing their clothes if it's nap time, maybe into something a little bit more comfortable, reading a book or singing a lullaby, whatever that special time is, baby cuddles, whatever that looks like to you, making sure that they have the perfect sleep environment, right? Dark room, sound machine, that their sleep space is completely safe, right? So they should be only in a crib or a bassinet where there's like a fitted sheet, no toys, no bumpers, super safe. And making sure that the baby is either in a sleep sack. If they're rolling, then a swaddling is no longer considered safe. And just putting the baby down, right? I tell parents you can't control how long a baby will sleep during naps, but what you can control is when you're offering the nap and making sure that their sleep environment is ideal for sleep, right? So that would be my biggest like tip for anyone listening with either a newborn or if they have a preschooler and they're struggling, just establishing those routines, which essentially, when you think about it, it's setting certain boundaries, especially with older kids. It's establishing healthy boundaries with them.
I love it. And I feel like us adults can use that very similar routine.
Mhm.
I mean, just winding down, not having a screen in front of you before bed, all of that kind of stuff. Having a routine, I think just lets our brain know that we're settling down to go to
Mhm.
sleep and finally get some rest. So, important stuff that we have to remember is important and is a necessity. Because oftentimes when you're super busy and you have a lot going on, what do you drop? You drop your sleep. You stay up later so you can get the extra thing done or whatever it is. And it's not really the answer.
And it's part of your self-care. It really
Yeah,
is. Sleep
it
is
totally
really.
is.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, even when you
So
think about it, like when you're sick, your body craves sleep because it's the way it needs to heal, right? So, sleeping is like a healing power. Like you need to give your body that.
it is. It's a superpower if we
Yeah,
let it be.
I agree with you 100%.
And I've learned the hard way. I'm sure a lot of people listening have that moment where you feel like, I think I'm getting a little cold. And you could stop it in its tracks by getting some extra sleep, resting, drinking more water, doing the things, taking care of yourself that day.
Mhm.
But what do most of us do? We push through. It's just a cold. I'm fine. I don't have a fever. I can function. And then you get wiped out for like 2 weeks because you get so sick. So would it have been better in hindsight? Oh, just maybe take the day and give your body what it needed in that moment. And you're actually saving time and going to be more productive down the road. But we think we're being martyrs by pushing through and being so productive. Most of the stuff probably didn't need to do anyway. And we just keep going and pushing ourselves and we pay for it.
And I also think, and I love that you talked about that because our body, it's the only way it knows how to communicate with ourselves, right? Like our body is telling it either it's a cold or your back hurts or whatever. These are all signs that your body is like, slow down. And I'll say, like, I'll raise my hand. I'm sometimes really guilty of that, where I'm like, oh, I'm just going to push through because I need to get this done or whatever it is. And it's our body telling us, like, you need to slow down. Like, you need to take it down a notch. And sometimes we just don't listen to it. And if we did, I think we would probably be in a really better place than we are sometimes, right?
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. So along those lines of taking care of ourselves, talk to us about breath work because I have a feeling now I was fortunate enough to do some breath work sessions and with Lucia. And it was, I think my biggest takeaway, and I remember saying this to you, was somehow at the end I felt super calm and really rejuvenated, refreshed, but I was energized and calm at the same time. And I feel like those two feelings don't often go hand in hand. So that was something that I was kind of blown away by. And that was even in some of the short sessions. So it didn't have to take a ton of time. So talk to us about what breath work, you've given us a little bit of background on it, but what is it exactly? And, how do these sessions work?
Yeah, I mean, I just love that you shared that because, like, within minutes, you can feel so different from when going into a session. So, breath work is really a healing modality that really helps relieve stress if you're feeling anxious, or even if your body, you want to heal sometimes through maybe some sort of trauma that you've experienced, right? The one thing that I learned from breath work is in order for us to feel better, we have to feel. And so by being able to use conscious breathing, because it's what we're doing in a session, is just bringing your awareness to our breath, but also activating our breath by bringing in a breath pattern, right? Either it's breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, or inhaling through the nose and out through the nose. Like there's so many different patterns. And by us being able to breathe in a certain pattern, it allows our mind to be focused on that, right? It's bringing our awareness to our breath. And by doing that, when we are controlling the way that we are breathing, our body is going to react to it in the sense where there might be sensations that might come up, right? Emotions. I will say that emotions is a big one for me. I remember in my first session that I didn't even know were there, just started to come through. And so when your body is able to release a lot of things that are blocked inside you, you feel so much better, right? You feel there's like this weight off of your shoulder. If you're feeling anxious or stressed, right, you're going into your nervous system is so triggered, right? And if you just pause for a second and just notice how you're breathing and maybe adapting one of those more active, energizing breaths, right? Either inhaling through the nose, like I mentioned, out through the mouth powerfully, you're able to kind of calm your nervous system. So at the end, when you leave a session, either if it's even for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, I know Anne Marie did a couple integrative where they're 30 minutes and even meditative, which is an hour, your body is able to completely relax. And so at the same time, you leave the session really good, right? You feel like this weight off your shoulder, you feel really calm, but at the same time you're energized because you were allowed to give your body some space, right? You allowed your body to slow down. So when you slow down, you come back into it, like your body feels differently. So that's where the whole energizing component comes of it. And every session you're going to feel differently, right? There are some people that might feel more energized. Some people might feel really like super zen, but not energized, right? It really is dependent on where you're at in that moment, right? Where your head is at, how your body's feeling. And all that breath work does is really helps clear up whatever's inside and then transforms it into what you really need at the end, right? So that's why I love breath work so much, because it is, like I said, a healing modality, but it's going a layer more than meditation, right? In meditation, I found myself like, I know you're supposed to quiet the mind a little bit, right? But I would like, it would be so hard for me to do that. And when breath work, because you're so focused on your breath, that's all you're really doing.
Mhm.
So that's a little bit about breath work and what it does. It really is an amazing, powerful tool that you can literally do at any time.
Which is the coolest part. And we always have our breath with us, right? It's
Exactly.
sure having some music and, having a true coach give you certain breath,
Patterns.
yeah, different patterns to do. Certainly that makes a huge difference, but it's something that we have in us. Like we have so many of these things in us already, and we just don't really know how to tap into them, or we are just so used to trying to ignore
Me?
and, and push through that we don't honor them. And I felt like the sessions with you, yes, every time feels different depending on, where you're at that day and everything else. But it felt like a reset every time.
Totally changes your whole mood. I have
Yeah.
the most funkiest mood ever. And as soon as I just, do a session on myself or I listen to a recording, like I can totally see the transformation happen completely. Your energy is shifted. Like it's just everything kind of, you feel more grounded, you feel more connected, you feel more alive,
Yes.
and we're able to actually listen to what's happening in our body, right? Even allowing ourselves to experiencing like the sensations, the emotions that may come up in a session. But that's your way of your body letting go of what's no longer serving you, And what you mentioned about us sometimes suppressing it, or for me, it was I've always been someone where if there was a problem or an issue, I wanted to fix it right away. Like I couldn't be in the pocket of sitting in the uncomfortable, like being uncomfortable with a situation. So I'd be so rapid to want to fix something. And I didn't allow myself the time that I needed to recover, to heal, right? And so for me, breath work has helped me. Like, losing my business when I had to close it, that was a big one for me. Huge. But it was a learning experience from it all, right? I was heartbroken. I was devastated. I also tied it with my purpose, right? How successful I was now. I was like, I lost a business. I'm a complete failure. You know what I mean? All these things came up for me. I did this program to the point now I got so much clarity that closing my business was probably, and I say this with so much confidence, the best thing that could have happened to me. I would never have said that like 2 years ago, whatever it was. Like, I would be like, why did this happen? I'm devastated, like, not being able to move forward with my life. And the moment that I surrendered to that and just said, amazing things are coming, like, there's amazing opportunities. I learned this was such an incredible experience. It's part of my story. There was a lot of personal growth from it, spiritual growth from closing my studio. And to the point where I feel right now, like I surrendered, I just let it go, because I know there's so much greatness happening for me. And I think if I had not discovered breathwork, I would still be in that mode, in that energy of like, why did this happen to me?
And it not being able to control that
Yeah.
is is very tough to accept. And it's also so draining. So
Yeah,
by you surrendering and saying, okay, there's a reason for this, something better is coming, you allow that new energy in and you allow those new
exactly.
opportunities.
That's right. Because if I'm holding on to that feeling of like with my studio, things will never open for me.
Right.
Right? Because I feel like I'm stuck in that mode or in that energy, in that mindset. And so breathwork helps us kind of clear those blocks. So I'm forever grateful for that and for what it's helped me and what it continues to help me. Because there's days, we all have our days. I'm definitely one of them, right? I'm not like, oh,
We're
everything's
all human.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so breathwork really helps me kind of come back to that.
So you've named so many of how it's changed you, the whole trajectory of your life, really. So what are some of like a couple of like the scientific benefits of this breath work?
Yeah, so definitely it works with relieving and helping with anxiety, right? Anxiety, stress is one of them as well. It helps with circulation, believe it or not, where you're able to slow down, right? It really helps with your body heal. I can go on and on about breath work, but those are like, I would say the top three of just helping your body heal, right, from the inside, right? Breathing in new energy by breath. Yeah.
I'm going to add one that I experienced personally. I remember the one day I'd had a really bad headache and I almost canceled because my head was just really bothering me. And I think I had worked all day and I was on like my computer all day looking at the screen and I didn't cancel. And my headache was so much better after. I could not believe that. It was almost like a heavy dose of Advil.
Mhm. Yeah.
I couldn't
Eh,
believe how much relief I got.
yeah, so Sam Skelly, who I did the program with, her phrase or her little catch line is, "You are the drug." And it
I
is,
love that. I
because
love it.
our drug is our breath, and we can so heal ourselves and bring us back to zero in the sense of like our nervous system, like just quieting our body a little bit, right? By just focusing on our breath. Our breath is literally our superpower if we think about it. It's our life force, right? Without breath, we can't live, we can't survive. And sometimes just bring awareness, like I mentioned, to your breath and seeing how you're feeling. Like when you're washing your dishes or I don't know, going outside, like really feeling the ground, really feeling the soap in your hands, like really bringing that awareness, that physical connection with your mind, your body, your soul. It's so important. So Yeah. Those are just something I wanted to share because a lot of people take breath for granted, but I know your body just naturally does it for you, right? You don't even think about it, but breath is really your superpower.
Amazing. It's amazing. And, in the beginning, you were talking about your word at the time you're going through all those challenges a couple of years ago was resilience. And, I've heard your whole story is a story of resilience as you've talked about how you've overcome things and what you've done and what you've learned and what you're teaching people now, how to find that resilience in ourselves and really be a better version of you and just being more of our authentic self. And that's really going to add so much more to the world because we all have these gifts and helping each person really find out what they're made of
Mhm.
enables them to go out and then really shine. So amazing story. We could talk all day about this stuff. It's fascinating. And we did mention for everyone listening, we'll do a little mini episode later in the week, probably on Thursday. And Lucia is going to share a short breathwork mini session so that you can try it for yourself and see what kind of results you get, see how it makes you feel. And as always, I'm going to link all of your information. I'll have you kind of let everybody know where to find you for all of their wellness needs, really getting sleep, figuring out how to breathe and lower anxiety. I mean, all of those things can be so beneficial in so many ways. So thank you for giving us your time today and best place to find you for everyone who's going to be quickly going on their, social accounts right now to look you up.
Yeah, I would say Instagram is the best way to connect with me. My IG handle is Luminous by Lucia, so you can find me there. And my website is also luminousbylucia.com are the two best places to connect with me.
Thank you so much for being here today. It was wonderful talking to you.
Thanks, Anne Marie, for having me.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode and have been inspired to slow down and start living life at your own pace. As a brand new podcast, your listener voice matters. If Let's Slow Down is resonating with you, please take a minute to leave a review and rate us. Subscribe to the show wherever you listen and share it with friends. Remember, this is a process, so go easy on yourself. Be gentle and take all the space you need to thrive because the world needs you to be at your best, to love and serve others and yourself.